Hello everybody, I'm Zenith Warrior Princess, the cutest of ghost buns, and welcome back to our annual look at the games I played throughout the previous year. As some of you may know, 2022 was not a kind year to me in many respects, especially when it came to gaming. I discovered that I had Lyme disease, but it took several years for them to actually test for it. As such, I spent a large portion of this year with health issues that prevented me from streaming, aside from brief cameos over on Linkara's stream. Because of this, the amount of games I played was drastically reduced from last year, which led me to focus on longer games, as well as games that I would describe as more comfort food than my average completion fare. This was certainly a year of quality over quantity, since I spent a large number of hours playing games, but the number of games was radically shorter than before. Let's take a look at the games I played in 2022, and you'll see what I mean. Pokemon Legends Arceus. Is it Arceus or Arceus?
I am that which humans call Arceus.
Arceus.
驚くほど自由にアルセウス
I figured out the reason why they have to call him Arceus and not Arceus. Because if they went with the Arceus pronunciation, this would have to be called the Arse phone.
There is literally no pleasing anybody with this Pokemon.
The beginning of 2022 was difficult for me in particular, specifically because I had to move at the last minute. In late January, I was looking for a new apartment, but was forced to switch at the very last minute, where I only had about a week to move everything across the state. During this time, I had initially bought Pokemon Legends Arceus as a streaming game for patrons, but only managed to get in one session before I moved. This was intended to be a big return to streaming, along with Fate's Day Night, after some health issues in the past, but as of this writing, we still have yet to return to the game. I will most definitely return to streaming this game sometime in the future, now that my Lyme disease has officially been dealt with, knock on wood, but we only managed to get through the tutorial on stream.
This is gonna take forever.
With that being said though, Pokemon Legends Arceus has a very interesting opening few hours that had me hooked. The main character is isekai'd by Arceus into a feudal version of the Sinnoh region, turning your phone into a Pokédex as a result. You are rescued by a Pokemon professor, and you go on a journey to take down Arceus and ask him, "What the hell, man?" This premise had me hooked from the very beginning and carried me through the admittedly overly long tutorial. Yeah, the first few hours hold your hand quite a bit, which does get annoying, and according to Phil is a Pokemon staple by this point, but the story and premise was very intriguing, and I have to say the gameplay, once you can actually play the game, is very engaging. The ability to order your Pokemon around in real time, as well as chuck Pokeballs whenever you like, is just such a huge improvement, as well as the ability to see what Pokemon are available immediately on the map. It's a notable improvement over past Pokemon games I've played, which means Generation 1 and 2, and I can't wait to return to this in the future. Now, again, I haven't played Pokemon Scarlet or Violet, or a lot of the ones getting up to this point, but this is very much an improvement, and I highly enjoyed myself. Genshin Impact.
Run, child! Run away to Mexico!
Now, this is a pick that many people will likely be confused by, unless of course you follow me on Twitter or are in my Discord server, in which case you know that I can't stop talking about this damn game. To be honest, I was a bit hesitant to play Genshin at first, but it ended up being one of my favorite games that I played this year. The story behind this is actually quite interesting and involves my streaming group from 2021. Before the health issues took over, my friends Mars Girl Suede and I would stream Final Fantasy XIV every Sunday, and Suede would look for new co-op games that we could play every so often. He wanted to suggest a few new things we could try out, so it wasn't just Final Fantasy XIV, and I applaud that because I love Suede, and playing online games with friends is quite fun. He was the one I initially played Dead Space 3 with until I got bored because that game is the pits. So we moved on to another game he suggested in 2021, that being Genshin Impact, since there was a co-op mode you could unlock once you reached a certain world rank. I decided to download the game and try it out, but I realized far too late that you had to reach world rank 16 in order to unlock co-op, and I didn't have enough time for that, so I put it on the back burner for a while. Enter 2022, where I had just moved to a new apartment, wasn't able to stream, and was greatly affected by Lyme disease. It took me a couple of months to get fully set up at the new apartment, and even then I had no money for new games because I wasn't really able to work at the time. I needed something to play to keep myself sane during that time, and Genshin Impact was a completely free-to-play game with more content than I could ever ask for, so I made it my mission to catch up with the game in 2022. This was a mistake. Somehow, even after 1,500 hours of playing the game, I am not fully caught up yet. Although I am somewhat close. A bit. Now, I have a video essay planned for Genshin Impact later this year to dive far deeper into what it was that hooked me about the game and why I adore it so damn much. But for the purposes of this video, I think the main thing was that it was free to play. I have tried my hand at several mobile games recently, and some I do enjoy, such as Disney Heroes Battle Mode and Arc Knights, but they always felt so heavily reliant on the gacha elements that I eventually lost interest or only play the game casually today. Especially because they want to take all my money just for simple character pulls. No thanks. I barely have enough money to begin with. Genshin Impact is a gacha game, but the difference for me is that at its core, it really isn't a gacha. For those unaware, gachapon games are all about grabbing different characters, and most gacha games rely on you spending tons of in-real-life money to have the latest character in order to win in the PvP modes of the game. Genshin Impact is vastly different in structure in that regard. At its core, Genshin is a clone of Breath of the Wild, but with anime characters, which is how Suede hooked me on the game in the first place. I mean, I like girls. It's Breath of the Wild with girls. What's not to like about that?
Yeah, I just really like girls.
Essentially, you are isekai'd into a new world where a god tells you that this is enough, kidnaps your brother, and knocks you unconscious for 500 years. I'm sensing a trend here because Arceus did the same damn thing. From here, you are deposited in a world known as Teyvat that is completely alien to you, and you have to explore it to find your brother once more. You wander aimlessly for a while until you find a floating fairy creature known as Paimon while fishing, although the community refers to her as Emergency Rations, who offers to be your guide in exchange for rescuing her.
What an exotic creature! Is it edible? No! For the last time, Paimon is not emergency food!
Paimon knows the world inside and out, especially because her name is based on the devil, and I'm willing to bet money that she is going to be revealed to be the final antagonist at the end of the game. So she will help you on your quest to find your brother, but you better watch your back, my theory is correct. The first thing you do is head to one of the statues of the Seven, a tribute to one of the 7 gods of Teyvat that can heal you, but also gives you an elemental power for paying your respects at the statue. From here, you are guided through the world as you search for your brother, earning new elemental powers as you go, and meeting tons of new friends in the process. The core element of Genshin is exploration and combat, where you uncover new portions of the world, and each new god statue opens up the map and serves as a teleport waypoint in addition to healing and giving you other powers. There are tons of chests to uncover, teleports to unlock, and things to see on your journey, and that's just if you want to aimlessly explore the world. You can just explore the world from the get-go, climbing anywhere you like, and interacting with everyone in the world, or you can advance the main story, and that is an undertaking, let me tell you. Unlike most gacha games, the story of Genshin is quite involved and takes a while to explain. The basic idea is that 500 years ago, there was a war between the gods known as the Archon War that devastated the world, leaving only 7 gods left to guide humanity forward. On your journey, you will meet these gods and uncover the secrets of the Archon War and how they intertwine with you and your brother, all while fighting dragons, gods, and everything in between. There are several factions of enemies that you have to contend with, such as the Fatui Harbingers, an elite squad of thugs that all have massive power and work for the Cryo Archon. The Archons themselves, bandits, treasure hoarders, monsters, religious zealots, and so much more. Their stories intertwine, but each faction has their own agenda, and you'll find yourself working with enemies at times, as well as allies, because, I mean, I don't like the Harbingers myself, fuck them, but you work with Child, and Child's pretty cool, so it all pays off in the end. The story is just so massive, encompassing 7 different regions of the world, and every new revelation brings new questions and makes you question previous actions. This is where I spend a lot of my time, but there's also world quests, individual character storyline quests, and much, much more. Nothing is locked behind a paywall, and everything you do in-game helps you acquire additional characters. You get several of them for free just within the story itself, and that's all you technically need to complete your journey in the main game. But everything you do in-game gives you Primo Gems, which allows you to pull new characters outside of the story. Now, this is where the gacha rears its ugly head, but as of this writing, I am about 1,500 hours into the game, and I have not spent a dime. The difference here between most gacha games and Genshin is that Genshin doesn't require the character element in order to progress. They don't advertise the store in-game, there's no annoying ads or pop-ups to get you to spend money, and all the characters you need are available in the prologue of the game, which lasts around 200 hours at least.
You're wasting time resisting.
Stupid! Worth it.
Yeah, the prologue itself has 3 individual acts, and they last for a very long time, ending with a fight against a giant dragon. It kicks ass. However, once you get past the prologue, many people will want to try out other characters, right? Well, yes, but by then, you'll be swimming in Primo Gems, the currency for the game. Unlike most gacha games, they give away Primo Gems like it's going out of style, and they just don't stop. You get Primos for completing daily quests. You get Primos for completing world quests. You get Primos for getting in-game achievements. You get Primos in the mail from letters every day. You get Primos from regular quests and character quests. You get Primos from basically everything you do in the game, especially from in-game events, and by the time you want to try out other characters, you will have tons of pulls for free. I have managed to get enough for 20 pulls each week as a casual player, and still managed to get the characters I want thanks to the in-game putty system. It's not in-game, it's a pity system, not putty. Thanks to the in-game pity system, which increases the drop rate of characters the more you pull. It is such a highly forgiving system that rewards players for putting time into the actual game and not for waiting for bars to go up or spending money. You spend all your time just doing stuff in the game. Fishing, cooking, fighting, exploring, playing the in-game card game. Everything has a reward to it, and it all folds back into the story, characters, and world of the game itself. Nothing is locked behind these characters, as you can do their character quest lines before you obtain them, but I found I had so many characters by the end of the prologue I could experiment and find ones that worked for me. Again, I know gacha tends to be frowned upon these days, and I've played plenty of bad or simply manipulative gacha in the past, but Genshin Impact just clicked for me. Admittedly, Genshin has some manipulative elements, and some things that I didn't enjoy, and I will get into more details in the video essay itself. But the short version is that Genshin, as a whole, is just so rewarding and deep for the players. I had no money to spend for so long, but I had no need to spend money on this game in the past year. I got to choose how much I played, what my focus was at any given time, and what I wanted to do that specific day, and that is just what I needed at the time. This is my comfort game, and whenever I just need to put something on for a bit and play, Genshin is there for me. with some quests or character tidbits to make me cry. Yeah, Genshin made me sob several times. There's a sequence in the game where they sing a song entirely in Chinese and they make a play around a character, and I didn't understand the language, but it made me cry. It is just that good. Please give it a shot. Oh, also, 1,500 hours into the game, and I'm still only about 60% completed. So yeah, there is a lot of content. It is not shallow, it is very deep. Go try it out, please. Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair. Well, it took me a while, but around a third of the way through the year, I managed to finish moving and setting up all my equipment finally. Yay, we did it! So I took the time to start gathering footage for Danganronpa 2, along with writing the script for the analysis. Now, I won't dive too deep into the game, since I already have 33 pages written for Danganronpa 2, and that's just for the story alone, not counting character analysis or anything else. Yup, Danganronpa 2 is a massive episode, and a lot of it has to do with the completion requirements for the game. I tried to be super efficient when gathering footage, completing all the white noise, digital pets, and other such annoying trophies as early as possible, so I didn't have to slog with it later. This includes the trophy for completing a trial without taking damage, which is just a pain in the ass even for the first trial of the game. And all of the hidden story events are also completed as well. As of this writing, I have completed the final chapter of the game, but I haven't done Magical Miracle Girl Usami, the full character report cards, or island mode just yet, simply because I was starting to get burnt out a bit. Don't get me wrong, Danganronpa 2 is a fantastic game, but playing like this, with every problematic trophy gotten as soon as possible, it took a lot out of me. A lot. On a base level, Danganronpa 2 is a fantastic game with lots of layers and new things to explore, and there were plenty of times where I had forgotten about a twist in one of the trials that caught me by surprise during this playthrough. This is only my second run of the game, and there are still events that take me by surprise today. However, in my first run through of the game, I played it blind and didn't go for trophies until the very end, and that was the proper approach. Gathering footage like this, especially when I was stressed out from the move and my sickness, really made certain parts of the game a chore for me to play. My intention for this year is to replay the base game on my own time as I touch up the story segments of the script, not focusing on trophies whatsoever, then gather footage of the final modes and finalize this script once and for all. It's just an unfortunate part of completing games fully for analysis. At times, it can really take its toll when you try to do things efficiently and quickly, and you end up not wanting to look at another digital pet or walk in a straight line for the next few years. Yeah, a large part of my footage is just me walking.
But let's face it, that's still 10 minutes of watching your characters go forward and back, and then forward and back.
And that alone should be enough to make you understand my frustrations. I adore Danganronpa 2, and I have a lot to say about the game, but I don't want to be demoralized by one aspect of the game and have it cloud my perspective. Most of the hard part is over at least, and I do really love what Phil and I have scripted so far, but after all of this, I really needed a break, and I just really wanted to spend some time enjoying the story and not, walking.
Trans rights, or burn the fires of pandemonium.
It was around this time that I came up with the concept for Bun Plays in order to shake things up a bit and give me a bit of a breather. I had been toying around with Let's Plays for years, but each time I had an issue that held me back. From the inexperience and awkwardness of my early infamous Let's Play, to the technical issues of my Ratchet & Clank stream Let's Play on the PS4, to the slowdown of my To the Moon Let's Play. Nothing seemed to be working, but I wanted to give it one final shot with a console game to avoid issues, and having Tifa edit it for me so all the issues were fixed, and she had proven herself to be a fantastic editor, so I knew she would fit well for the series. I decided to play through Sonic the Hedgehog 1 for the first game, since it was breezy and I could iron out any issues quickly like that instead of having a long Let's Play where we might have to restart the whole thing. My initial thought was to play through the version in Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection, and I did do a test run through the game, so I was familiar with it for the Let's Play, but then Sonic Origins was announced to be coming out very soon, so Phil, Nick, and I decided to wait for the Origins release for the Bun Plays proper. I had been watching a lot of Playframe's Let's Play series at the time, so I created the primer video as kind of a lead-in, and everything finally clicked into place. I'm not going to say that the first episodes were perfect by any stretch, but they were exactly what I wanted, and we continue to roll with the concept from here. Wait, sorry, what I meant to say is that we continue to spin the concept along, because as we all know, rolling is a myth.
Yes, I've heard of that story. It's a myth.
To be honest, Sonic the Hedgehog 1 is not a great game. I have many issues with the pacing, the structure, and half of the level designs due to the experimental nature of the game. However, I think it's very fitting for the first Bun Plays because I was experimenting as well. I was able to find a formula due to how the first episode turned out, and a lot of it has to do with just how accessible Sonic 1 is. Sonic is the type of game that anybody can just pick up and play and get from the very first few moments of the game. It's extremely simple, but it has hidden depths if you take the time to experiment, or if you have a partner who is super into the franchise and will call you out for not rolling.
Roll for luck. 20. Roll for luck. 20. Roll for luck. 20. Wait, roll for luck.
I love you, Phil, but really, stop making fun of me. You won't. It's an impossible challenge. Honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way, because this first episode and my failure to roll gave us our first running gag, helped me improve, and overall set the tone for Bun Plays from the start. Head empty, only Bun. That is who I am. I am here to have fun first and foremost, and Sonic allowed me to do just that. I do have issues with Marble Zone, and Scrap Brain was devised by Satan himself, but I still had so much fun, and it allowed me to relax and decompress from this crazy year. Sonic 1 is a good game, but I think it was better that I played it for Bun Plays because it allowed me to learn and grow, get good, and blaze a trail for the future Bun Plays. So, while this game isn't perfect, I still had a lot of fun, and the process of making Bun Plays reignited my own passion for creating videos so that I could return to videos again, and that's enough for me. It's just a fun game to Let's Play for friends and fans, and overall I am extremely grateful for Sonic for just the process of creating this Let's Play. Life-giving Mountain Dew Major Melon, the nectar of the gaming gods, and it's gaming with a G-A-Y. Mountain Dew is my fuel. This is not sponsored, hashtag not sponsored by Mountain Dew Major Melon, but it could be. It could be. This was a mistake.
Oh, God, not this again.
Now, don't get me wrong, I am a huge fan of the Borderlands franchise. I discussed last year how I completed the entire series in 2020 again so I could play Borderlands 3 in 2021. But that was also a mistake.
It's your second mistake.
Look, I love this franchise, but it is also one that is a completionist nightmare, and even games that I think are going to be a simple platinum turn into a marathon. I chose Tiny Tina's Wonderlands as a small in-between game because I wanted a brief break from Genshin while I was leveling up characters and not advancing much of the story at the time. So I popped in Tiny Tina, and I gotta admit, I loved it.
And Fret, it says your starter sword does murder 1,000 damage?
My bad, I left off a 0.
She remains alive in the carnage. Does she look bad, baby? She looks like she's about to die.
Might as well save her peasant ass.
Maybe after this quest, I could be the bunker master.
You defeat the ambush, but you see that the drawbridge to the inner walls has been raised. What do you do?
We seduce the drawbridge.
What did he say?
Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is a return to form for the Borderlands series, taking inspiration from the Assault on Dragon's Keep DLC of Borderlands 2 and making an entire game set in a Bunkers and Badasses campaign created by Tiny Tina herself. Based on this premise alone, they retooled the system of Borderlands to be more D&D oriented, with spells replacing grenades and action skills being a bit more mystical in nature. Your ultimate goal is to take down the evil necromancer, the Dragon Lord, after he invades the town of Brighthoof and kills Queen Butt Stallion, the bastard. From there, it's pretty much your standard Borderlands affair, but with more fantasy-style jokes and a villain that is far more entertaining than Borderlands 3 ever was, because he's voiced by Will Arnett, the Lego Batman himself.
Because I'm Batman.
The story is just a ton of fun for anybody who's played tabletop RPGs, especially because they constantly poke fun at the genre, with the DM, Tina, making up quests on the fly. There's an overworld to interact with that is scattered with Cheetos and soda and other miscellaneous real-world items that just add to this parody atmosphere and make it fun again, something that Borderlands desperately needed after Borderlands 3. Look, I liked Borderlands 3, but it was just so damn disappointing to me after all those years of waiting for an official sequel. It was not only a glitch fest, making completion a complete nightmare since I had to do all the location trophies at once in one sitting. God. But the villains were just awkward, awful, and frankly insulting to me as a VTuber and a streamer. This, to me, is a massive return to form for the series, with very few glitches, the only notable one being the random encounter overworld glitch that freezes the game but can be fast traveled out of, far more personality, better villains, and more character than ever before. I remember thinking with Borderlands 3 that maybe I was becoming too old for the series because the humor just wasn't funny for me anymore, but honestly, 3 as a whole is just not a funny game. Tiny Tina, on the other hand, had me laughing out loud so many times, and the overall story is just interesting, taking a meta approach to D&D characters, and it is really damn awesome.
Looks up just in time to see you streaking down. What do?
I say,
Stranger!
and I sink the axe right into his neck and pot him perfectly down the middle.
Your minion failed miserably, Dragon Lord.
There's still time. You can seal the Dragon Lord away before he escapes.
Psych!
The Dragon Lord is free, suckers!
It's a thought-provoking tale that is also hilarious and also has you actually blowing up the damn ocean, following up a throwaway gag from Assault on Dragon's Keep. It is just really clever writing and a lot of fun, and the cameos and characters that they bring back are all very cleverly done. Gameplay-wise, it is also a major improvement in many ways. The ability to not only equip class mods, but 2 rings to adjust your character is simply amazing. They also allow you to dual class, which technically was a thing earlier with skill trees, but now you can choose which action skill you want, and they streamlined it so that dual classing is much more viable and you get what you want out of each class. Spells are so much more useful than grenades ever were, offering multiple types of effects from spinning tornadoes to magic bolts to gelatinous cubes.
Okay, what is a gelatinous cube?
Directly into the gelatinous cube.
A gelatinous cube!
Gelatinous cube eats village. I think it's terrific.
I never want grenade mods again, because this is so much better and more useful. Honestly, several times I just I didn't even want the grenade mod. I'm just like, no, screw you. I'm gonna not take that. Because it just didn't help. Another major thing they changed to improve Tiny Tina is the enemy balancing. Oh, thank Tina for this addition, because it is frankly awesome. So, in this game, they have the level cap set to 40, and the enemies scale up with you, but unlike the pre-sequel, which was designed only for co-op and Borderlands 3, every enemy feels reasonable. You can also choose your overall difficulty in the settings of the game, but it's the end game which sees the biggest damn improvement. Once you finish the game, there's no New Game Plus mode like previous games, which at first I was lamenting the loss of, but this is done in service to the balancing of the game. Here, once you hit level 40, you start gaining myth ranks, which improve different stats in a skill tree, but your overall level is unchanged, and once you unlock the post-game, you unlock the Chaos levels. Dun dun dun! These are basically added broken dungeon challenges with unbalanced fights, which can be frustrating, but completing them allows you to increase your Chaos level, giving you more XP, gold, and better gear per fight. I was honestly not a fan of the Chaos levels at first, since they seemed to be basically a roguelike DLC in disguise with first-person shooters, and that was kind of weird. But the more I played, the more I actually did like them. They are a bit long and repetitive, but each run is randomized for the Chaos runs, and you can do shorter runs or featured runs in the main area to help you level up and do easier challenge. It's a nice post-game idea, and it allows the balancing to make bosses in the main game not absurdly broken while still offering post-game content that is still enjoyable, if a bit repetitive. At the same time, post-game in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is too damn long once again. Forget the rent is too damn high party. I'm part of the party that is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands has too much post-game content.
I'm not too much. Much too much.
I played this as a short in-between game and ended up putting 200 or more hours in the game, and I'm not done at the time of this writing. Now, the base game has about 100 hours or so of content, which is beefy but doable and fun. There are tons of collectibles to find that all act as stat boosts if you find them all, and a nice change of pace from prior games. Finding lucky dice increases loot lucks for drops. Shrine pieces allow you to eventually unlock a shrine for a large stat boost, like increased movement speed, XP, or gold gain. Obelisks increase your constitution, lost marbles increase your strength, and there are far more than just those. There's so much to find in this game, but it's enjoyable, taking the concepts of the side missions from Borderlands 3 and giving incentive to keep playing long after the story wraps up, without all the glitches. However, then you have to contend with the Chaos levels, the DLC, and the SDU upgrades. On their own, the Chaos levels aren't that bad at first, and I managed to do quite a few easily, but around level 7 and level 17, they just get obnoxiously poorly designed. There are several bosses that had to be patched and scaled back because they were just impossible to win against, such as Drill constantly replenishing his shield every 5 seconds, or the Wastard doing the same. Both of those have since been patched, but I had to defeat them beforehand, and I am still bitter at that. Why? Once I got to level 25, I stopped because the bosses were too damn much for me after a while, but I managed to get the trophies after so many hours of trial, error, and grinding. Then there's the DLC, which isn't that bad. I did them all with the Chaos levels on, until I reached the 4th DLC and turned them off, but altogether they aren't hard. But then again, they aren't great. They are just 4 new short dungeons with new tasks and a new boss to fight at the end of them, and that's nothing really special to me. Now, the bosses are well designed and interesting, and the shorter pace is much appreciated over the Chaos run length, but they are just dungeons again. There's a minor story in the background, but overall they're just okay. I like them for the bosses and not much else. However, doing both of these tasks took until the end of December, and the DLC spilled over into January for me, so I can't say I've beaten them at the time of this writing. At the same time, none of these are quite as bad as the true kick in the nuts. The storage deck upgrades. Oh my god, why is there always one trophy that kicks my ass?
Suffer the consequences.
Damn Borderlands. Granted, every Borderlands game has that one trophy that just takes forever, but this is up there as one of the most time-consuming because I still haven't done it yet. In the game, there are 9 individual SDUs, and most of them have a small amount of upgrades. For example, the Lost Loot SDU has only 8 total upgrades, many of the weapons cap at 10, and the rest cap at 13. Seems doable, right? Wrong, because for some ungodly reason, the Bank SDU has 23 total upgrades to purchase with gold. I just... Why? I just want to sit down the developers and say, look, I thought the pre-sequel was bad for, like, the random trophy for, like, the grinding of the Loonshines, but this is bad.
Oh, that's bad. That's bad.
And this isn't a case where each upgrade only costs a few extra gold. No, it scales. So the first upgrade cost 1,000 gold, and the second cost 3,000 gold, eventually building up to 18,589,500 gold for the final upgrade. And you have to add all these totals with all the prior bank SDU upgrades and all the rest. This is a slog, plain and simple, because just getting the Lost Loot upgrade took ages. I only just got half of the SDU upgrades in December, and that's with Chaos level 25 giving you plus 100% gold drop. It takes forever, but it spilled into January on my end, so next time I'll have to discuss how that is just the tip of the iceberg, because at the time of this writing, I still have 9 SDU upgrades for the bank after 207 hours of playing the game and utilizing the 50% off SDU weekends. This was a mistake.
Finally, you realize that!
I adore Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and in many ways, it is the best Borderlands game in ages, especially with all the patches and the updates and the things that they made for quality of life improvements. I'd definitely play at least 10 more of this style of Borderlands game. But for the love of Madoka, please make the Platinum not such a slog next time. Give me a better endgame, better bosses, and a story, an actual story for the endgame. Also, just don't make the SDUs cost so damn much, even with the 50% off weekend deals. It hurts. Bun, 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 bunny, 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 bun, 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 bun. Look, this is all Phil's fault. I take no responsibility for this one, my buns. I was busy minding my own business in the middle of Tiny Tina, Sonic Origins, Danganronpa, and Genshin Impact already. I didn't need another game to play, especially because Genshin Impact got Game of the Year. Genshin. I didn't need another game to play, but Phil asked if I would play with her, and I just had to once I found out that Shaggy can go Super Saiyan in the game. I would never have gotten into Multiversus otherwise, but somehow this game is actually really damn good. I'm admittedly not the biggest fan of fighting games to begin with, only being big into Smash Brothers, but even then, I'm a casual fan. I've completed PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle, but those are simple and not very competitive. This is something completely new for me, but I found myself very much in love with this game. For those unaware, Multiversus is a free-to-play fighting game by Warner Brothers that takes a whole bunch of exceedingly random characters from their history and pits them against each other in a full-on slobber knocker. Bugs Bunny versus Marvin the Martian, Shaggy versus the Iron Giant, Gizmo from Gremlins versus LeBron James. Okay, yeah, you take all these weird combinations of characters from their library and fight against each other in 1v1 or 2v2 combat. I gotta be honest, I was extremely skeptical at first, but this is one of my new favorite fighting games, and I don't say that lightly because I don't like a lot of fighting games. I think the key component that makes Multiversus work so well is that while it is very similar to Smash Brothers in how it presents itself, the combat and character interaction is very different. There are several different types of characters, from shield to attack, and each character has an arsenal of moves based on their series. For example, one of Shaggy's main move is spawning a sandwich, going Super Saiyan, and then throwing the sandwich to knock enemies off the field. It's actually my favorite attack. The basic combo structure is similar to Smash, with neutral button presses being different from button presses in a certain direction or holding said button, but because these characters have such a strange set of moves, it feels radically different. You have Jake the dog, who can morph into various objects, Steven Universe, who can create Watermelon Stevens and shields, and Batman, who can use gadgets. Every character is fine-tuned to who they are supposed to be, and I found each character a joy to try out and to play. Another good thing is that they give out free trial characters each period, and shift them around so that you can get used to them and don't have to commit to an in-game currency purchase if you aren't sure. The other major difference between Smash is how floaty the controls are. The game fully intends for you to use air combos, and as such, the jumps are floatier than normal, allowing you to chain any combo in midair, which are different from ground combos, which is something new. There's a double jump in-game, and you can string together all air combos and dodges to stay in the air for a very long time, which allows for less focus on hard attacks and more focus on dodging. Let me say, dodging, as Piccolo would say, is a big part of the game too.
Really needs to learn how to dodge.
Yeah, I know, still working on that.
Dodging doesn't shield the character, but each dodge allows you invincibility frames for a few seconds, and you can tune that to your advantage against tricky enemies, dodging and using Taz's neutral move to eat them instead. There's far more strategy than you would expect here, and I learned something new from each match. The 2v2 approach is just more fun for me as well, allowing a friend to join in the matchmaking, and this allows even novice players to learn and turn the tide when you have to pay attention to two opponents. I still have a bit to go in the game, mostly trophies for winning and matchmaking, but this is by far easier than I expected. I plan to play Multiversus with Phil for a long time to come and get that platinum this year, but this was one game I was pleasantly surprised to be wrong about. It's just a fun fighting game, and I have no major complaints, aside from Warner Brothers being assholes. Damn you, Zaslav. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Putting up my hands. 2. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is a great game, and I fell in love with it last year. It is by no means a perfect game, with weird hitboxes, cheap arcade design, with insta-death pits, and the final 2 bosses are complete bullcrap, especially because you have no rings for some reason. I know it's tradition, but it still makes no sense to me. However, taking that into account, Sonic 2 is a triumph and a vast improvement over the first game. I can say I enjoyed half of the stages in Sonic 1, but Sonic 2 only has a few hiccups in my book, starting with Metropolis Zone. This did not need to be 3 acts long, and the boss is just weak in my opinion, coupled with poor enemy placement with slicers and asterons. Ugh. Taking this into account though, I enjoy 3/4 of Sonic 2, and even the stuff I'm not too fond of, like the grind to get Super Sonic, or the many deaths to Silver Sonic and the Death Egg Robot, are only a small part of the experience to me. I can pick up and play Sonic 2 no problem anytime I want and get to Oil Ocean before I start having issues. And even then, Sonic Origins does a fantastic job streamlining the adventure with infinite lives and retries. This is just the perfect Sonic experience for me, but then again, I've already talked about this at length in 2 other videos. Play this game. It is insanely fun and addicting, and I really can't wait to start playing Sonic CD, which I'm recording immediately after this video, which I hope has a far lower death count than before, for Tifa's sake and for mine. But even still, I cannot wait. CD, let's go. Lewis streams, or Linkara streams. When it comes to streams over on Lewis's channel, I unfortunately had to duck out quite a few times this year due to Lyme disease, but the streams that I did manage to catch were quite fun. I may not be a big Pokemon fan, but the Pokemon X randomized Nuzlocke was fun as always, giving us the wonder that was Fudgment Day, and the ridiculous Officer Looker quests were fun. Even if you probably need an adult for that, because that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it was still fun. More special to me though was the redo of the Star Trek Elite Force Let's Play, which I got to experience the entirety of, and it was amazing. This was one of the first videos that I ever watched from Linkara, and to come full circle, watching Linkara play the game again and say classic quotes was just amazing. Saying, "Man, this sucks," in stereo with Beesman was glorious, as well as failing to romance Telsia again, thanks to Neelix. Thanks, Neelix. Stop cock-blocking us, Neelix. I also got to voice Janeway on stream and simply had a blast. This was a dream come true, and I am exceedingly glad that I was there for it. Star Trek Elite Force 2 was unfortunately not quite as good, with a very cookie-cutter plot, generic brown levels, and not as many fun one-liners or characters. It was an okay experience, especially with all of the new weapons, but I zoned out for a bit of it, partially due to sickness, partially due to just how generic the game was. It was fun, don't get me wrong, but not nearly as fun as the first. We ended out the year with a stream of Diablo 2 Resurrected, which I was supposed to be a part of, and was for like a session or two, but then my sickness got the better of me, and I had technical issues with my controller setup. Still, what we did play was decent. I still prefer Diablo 3 personally for all the vast quality of life improvements, but this was fun to watch and riff on at least, and I still had a good time. Last, but certainly not least, we have all of the sessions of Among Us this year. Because of the shorter games we streamed, Sus Bunny managed to get into her groove again many times this year, including one session where Sus Bunny was extremely victorious. It was glorious.
I have but one thing to say.
Among Us is just as fun as ever, and the new hide-and-seek mode is a nice addition that I hope to play more of in the future. Still, the core gameplay is still so damn fun, and I love when nobody suspects that I'm the imposter, and I shapeshift into Phil, and blame it on Linkara, and we all vent him for wasting our time. Ha 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 ha. Oh, fun times. Fun times. In any event, those were all the games I played this year. Again, it was very quality over quantity, and I didn't end up finishing many of them myself, but hopefully this year is going to be different. Starting with me finishing Tiny Tina once and for all, catching up with Genshin Impact, and playing Sonic CD, all while I gear up to play Spider-Man 1 and 2 PS2 for the Midnight Combo Pack. I hope you all look forward to what we have in store game-wise for the rest of the year. In any event, I'm Zenith Warrior Princess, the cutest of ghost buns, and I will see you all next time when I've hopefully played a lot better games that are not Dante's Inferno. Have a good one, everybody!